Welcome, I'm the Deadwood Jedi. This is another Raid Shadow Legends video. I know it's been a while since I put any videos out there, but we're trying to get some Sand Devil Necropolis content for you guys. It's the new dungeon. Obviously, it's very tough, and I've been working at least the last couple weeks on putting some Stage 25 auto teams together, and boy, it's been a struggle. It's really, really hard, but I found a couple, and this one that I'm going to show you guys is kind of the budget version of it, I would guess you would say. It's not 100% just due to resistances, right? But outside of that, it does work. In fact, yeah, that's the only reason why it'll fail. And there are some, there's not really anything you can do about it, unfortunately. But the cool part is it's using GEOMANCER, which I think is really tricky to be able to do. Obviously, not only does he reduce his HP down to 0, but he also reduces turn meter. And it's kind of a cool comp. It's pretty budget as far as like putting it together. The requirements aren't super crazy, except for GEOMANCER. You need a lot of accuracy on GEOMANCER, and you need a fair amount of speed on your other champions. And ironically, a lot less other stats. This is a revive on death team, and it functions primarily on the basis that everybody dies. So if they don't all die, that's a problem. But that does mean that you don't need to level any of these champions. Maybe you want to take them to 6-star, but you don't need to level them at all. In fact, the less leveling you do, the better off you are with this team, which is kind of ironic, because you want them as low HP, as low defense as possible, so they revive on death. And of course, to make this happen, we're going to be using Mother Cybele. Absolutely vital for this particular comp, and also pretty darn impressive as a champion in general for this dungeon. But anyway, we're going to get into all that. I'll talk about all the weirdness that makes this work. But for those of you that don't have a Duchess, those of you that don't have a Siphi, this might be the best option for you as far as autoing high levels of the Sand Devil Necropolis. All right, so if we take a look at the team, we've got Mother Cybele, we've got Eris in here, Hellhound, GEOMANCER, and Skytouch Shaman. This is like very bare bones to what we need. Basically, what's happening is we have Mother Cybele to revive us consistently every single time. We have Hellhound in there to give us a sleep, because he has a sleep on his A1 that's consistent. If he gets resisted, this team will die. That's the negative with this team. We have GEOMANCER in there, obviously, for the HP burn, so we're doing damage. That's what makes this run actually pretty darn fast. But again, if his turn meter reduction off that skill gets resisted, we die. So those two champions, they can't be resisted. If they're resisted, we die. And the problem with Hellhound is he's a common champion, which means no banner. So trying to get him with enough accuracy is really tough. Obviously, if you have better gear than mine, it should be a lot easier, but I got them pretty well done. It's still not 100%, even close to it. Not even 97%, I don't think. We've got Eris in there for the speed buff, as well as a little bit of a cleanse. We don't really need the cleanse, to be honest, with the speeds I have here, but we do need that speed buff. That is pretty crucial. There's GEOMANCER, and Skytouch Shaman's the last one, and Skytouch we're using to help revive as we get into tune. So we just need a revive for one turn. After that, we really don't even need her anymore, but she's a part of this squad. So there's some fun stuff about how I've geared this. Definitely stick to the end, because I think it's pretty cool the way that these champions are geared out. But yeah, that's the team. Let's try a run out. Okay, so as we jump in here, it is full auto. I don't have to do anything else. But basically what we're doing is we get that sleep off the jump. We reduce the turn meter from GEOMANCER, not to mention the HP burn. Speed up from Eris. Everybody goes. We got that revive on death. You'll notice, look, everybody's got revive on death now, right? This is why we brought Skytouch Shaman in here for this particular revive, because in a second here, we're going to outrun it on some of our champions here. So that's crucial to why we wanted to do that. So here we go. We keep moving through, right? There goes Eris. Boom. And wait, everybody still has it? Yep, we still have it. Thank you for that revive Shaman. And now we're back alive, right? Everybody's low HP. We're back alive. And here we go through the second time through. Now, getting to work with GEOMANCER is a pain in the butt, but we were able to do that. And that reduction of turn meter is crucial to making this happen, because we're getting Cybele on a 3-1 ratio, allowing her to revive every single time. And so that's how we do it. We got to time the hits out. That's very important. So everybody died. Now, you'll notice Cybele survived with like a fraction of health left. This is very annoying. This does happen occasionally, especially for Mother Cybele, because she's legendary. She's got more HP and defense than everybody else in this comp. How do we do this? Well, one, you can bring in a level 1 Cybele. That would be clutch and key, and I highly recommend doing that. But if you can't do that, like I don't right now, one of the things I would definitely be doing here instead is you want to make sure her speeds are set. I have her at speeds currently, so that even if Eris only cleanses the accuracy and not the decreased speed, she will stay in sync and still be able to get that revive up again. But the speeds are very tight. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're building this type of a team. If you build this type of a team, you still have to get to this level. This is not going to help you get here. It's just going to help you, deal with it once you're there. Anyway, we keep going through. We keep getting those debuffs out, and it allows us to go. So we got a 3-1 ratio for Mother Cybele, 3-1 ratio for Eris, and a 3-1 for Geomancer because of that turn meter reduction. Not only does he reduce turn meter, but he also fills his own turn meter bar with what he steals, so he's able to get a second turn in really quickly, allowing him to do 3 in a row. Basically, see right there, he went twice in a row, and so that's going to allow him to go again. So pretty solid little squad here that works. And one thing I want to point out real quick, watch Cybele. See that boosted turn meter? I don't know if you guys caught it. I'll try and catch it again on the next one. Mother Cybele has a passive ability that gives everybody a 15% turn meter boost when she revives. Well, interestingly, she's actually giving that to herself because she's in the lead position. And I think that's really, really unique here. So we're going to slow this down to 1x speed so you guys can see this. You'll see that notification of a second turn meter boost, right? So she comes back, there's a revive, watch, turn meter boost right there. She hasn't taken a turn yet. She gets that turn meter boost because she revived herself. I don't know why that is the way it is. It just is. But I've definitely tested it. That's 100% what's happening here. She's giving herself that 15% turn meter, but she's going first in the top of the order. We get the speed buff there from Eris, and everything else goes perfectly smooth from this point on. Now, of course, if we get resisted on either Hellhound's Sleep or Geomancer's turn meter reduction, this team will fail. So it's not 100%. I just can't say that. But it is pretty successful in general. So that's kind of the good part with this, right? You don't need any resistance on any of these champions. We have Cybele at a fast enough speed. Everybody else is weak enough so they wouldn't survive anyway. And you can farm Eris. You can just build Hellhound up and just try and keep his HP and defense low, but he's a common champion. He's gonna die, right? Geomancer reduces all his own HP anyway, so he's gonna die every time. And Sky Touch you can have naked, like I do. Completely naked Sky Touch Shaman right now. I know she's normally mostly naked, but right now she's completely naked doing this. So even with me pausing this video and stopping 4.5 minutes, not too bad. My best time is under 3 minutes with this squad. Is it a perfect team? No, it will fail occasionally, but I think the rates are high enough that you could actually build this team for your farming team, right? Obviously you're going to be wasting some energy, but let's be real. If you're farming stage 25 of this dungeon, you don't have a problem spending energy, right? You're going above and beyond as it is. So I think this is actually a pretty reasonable team for most people to be able to build if you're going to farm stage 25. Now, like I said, this doesn't work for any other stages. It's not like you can climb with this team. But if you want to build a farm team to get to stage 25, this can work for you. And there's so many easy ways to manual your way up to 25. All you need to make sure to do is just bring in Revive on Death consistently, and you'll be fine, right? Just manual it, make sure you have that up. You can use Geomancer even in a team like that, and you should be just fine, right? So there's more than a few ways to go about as far as climbing to this point, but once you're here, what are you going to do to farm? You could use a 10-minute team with Siffy. You could, try and use something a little bit more RNG if you wanted to. This one's pretty steady. If you don't have somebody that can tank those stuns every time, if you're not building a survivability team, which is definitely something you can do, this is an excellent option, and something I would recommend. So anyway, that's the team. Let's look at the stats so we have an idea of what we're actually doing here. Are you still not subscribed to my channel? What are you doing? Take a moment, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next video that I put out there. It's the easiest way to support my channel, and over half of you aren't doing it. Get at it. So we can start off here with Mother Side Belt. Now, all these champions, all of them outside of Geomancer and Hellhound, have almost no masteries and no gear. And I guess Eris because of getting the speeds, right? But basically, we have Mother Side Bell here. I have her at 258 speed. I try to keep her HP and defense as low as I could. 27,000 HP, 2,000 defense. I mean, literally, there's almost no defense or HP on any of these pieces. But it's hard. I have a pretty full Great Hall. I have a pretty full Faction Guardians, or completely full Faction Guardians, I think. Maybe almost with this one. It's hard to actually keep those numbers as low as I want to, but I really did my best. Only 2 sets of speed gear on her. Don't need any more than that. Mastery wise, we're just going down to get Lore of Steel to get a little bit extra speed. Otherwise, we don't need any masteries whatsoever. And that's kind of how we have her built. Definitely do not want to take any of these champions, any of them in the defensive tree, right? It's either support tree, maybe attack tree. That doesn't hurt as long as we avoid War Master and Giant Slayer. But otherwise, yeah, just that's it. Going over to Eris, right? Obviously, I have Eris in speed gear. That is definitely primary. I kind of took her from my clan boss team, my Myth Air team, or my Myth Food team, and switched her a bit. So she probably has more gear than she actually needs. If I could, I'd build her completely bare bones. But as a rare champion, she's dying pretty regularly, right? She actually dies completely regularly. She never survives, which is all I care about. So outside of that, I don't need anything else. I had her in a toxic set trying this. That's fine. You could do that if you wanted to, add a little bit of poison. It's not going to make a big difference on your run, to be fair, but it doesn't hurt either. And you could probably put toxic on any of these champions, to be fair. It shouldn't hurt your run at all. The hits from the Necro, from the Sand Devil, they're going to be hard enough to kill you anyway. The big hit that, you know, actually can be reduced based off the number of debuffs, that one's not going to make a huge difference. So if I could put everybody in toxic set, I would. But obviously, you know, that's really Mother Side Bell, Eris, or my next champion, Skytouch Shaman, the only other one I could really do that with. The others, I need too much accuracy, right? But Skytouch is absolutely naked. Absolutely naked. No gear. No gear. Level 10 or 12, just because I've been running this. She started as level 1. She's only 5 stars. She's unascended. And it is important if you're going to use Skytouch to have her be completely unascended. That is important because obviously you don't want her be slowing herself or fearing herself. That's not advantageous for us. So completely undescended. Now, you don't have to use Skytouch here. You could use a Crimson Helm, is definitely a reasonable choice. Even I think you could get away with, I haven't tested it, but I think you could get away with a Light Sworn if you wanted to. By the time they're actually making attacks, the boss is already woken up from the sleep. So you're not, you know, messing up the sleep. You know, the turn meter boost isn't going to be a negative effect on you. This is one of the advantages of actually using a Hellhound or a Siffy. Only a 1-turn sleep means that it does, once it goes off, it goes off. And so you can bring multi-hitters in those types of situations. So that's certainly a possibility. I wouldn't recommend it per se. And I think this works just fine for what I need. And the biggest reason why I wouldn't recommend it is I actually want him to die. I want him to die as soon as possible, as much as possible. So having her just go down, being as weak as I can, is ideal for me, really. Now, the next champion we're going to look at is Hellhound. Hellhound, a common champion, trash champion, except has a sleep on the A1. Actually, the only skill this champion has for 1 turn. All we have to make sure we do is crit. Now, the reason why Hellhound is going to work for 25 is, 1, is strong affinity, so extra 15% chance to crit. So I only needed to bring the crit ability up to 85%, a little bit over, but that's all we needed. 251 speed is pretty crucial here. And we have the accuracy as well. I got 517, literally as much as I could put on while maintaining these speeds. If I have more glyphs, I could probably build the accuracy up, and if I can build that accuracy up, the higher I can get it, the more reliable this is. We want to try and aim for about 560 accuracy to get a very consistent run. Obviously, I'm short of that, but I can't ascend Hellhound because it's a common champion, so I can't put a banner on. So finding the gear with speed and accuracy is very, very tough. But able to get a pretty good stead. We're able to do some quality runs at least. And so that's what I have her at. Have them at, you can see, not even 20,000 HP, dies every single time. Then last we have Geomancer, right? And Geomancer, we're obviously taking, you know, masteries as far as we can. We're going with definitely down the support tree, right? But basically with Geo, we're trying to get to that speed, so 250 here. And outside of that, just getting the accuracy up. That's all we need, right? We have way more HP than we need, more defense than we need. I would take all that off if I could, but I do need all 6 pieces so I can get the accuracy to a sufficient level of what we're trying to do here. So that's going to be the big thing. It's getting that accuracy up. I got him at 600. I think that's a more steady and consistent number to get to rather than like 560. But with these numbers, we should be, I would say we're going to win about 90% of the fights, maybe 80%, something like that, 90 to 80% of the fights, right? So it's a pretty steady amount. It's not perfect, but, you know, I would say it's pretty good ratio. So, yeah, that's the team. That's how I built them. So there we go, guys. Full auto team for stage 25 using Revive on Death, which I think is actually pretty cool. Now, like I said, there's easier ways to do this. Not easier ways to do this, but there are other ways to do this if you are at the point of farming stage 25. But they're probably going to use some of your better champions. And if you don't plan on farming this dungeon a lot, like I don't really plan on farming this dungeon a lot, and you don't have any like really meta sleep champions, like somebody like Shagur or something, this is an excellent approach to take. So just, you know, this is definitely one option out there for you guys to do. The fact that I can farm this in 3 minutes or less is pretty impressive for a farm time. And so as long as I'm not too worried about wasting energy, this can be a pretty successful team for you guys to be able to use. Obviously, you don't want to level up your Cybele past, you know, 1, really. But, you know, the problem is, of course, over the course, they're going to level themselves up. With Mother Cybele, if you can make the speeds without a banner, I would actually probably just leave her at 5-star, truthfully, or maybe even 4-star. But she does have really nice base speed, which makes it a lot easier for her to get to this, you know, to the level that you want to get at. And so that might be something that, you know, maybe it's worth taking her all the way up to 60 anyway. But those are kind of considerations that you might want to make outside of this, you know, and things to think about as you're building it. But yeah, it's a pretty solid team, I would say. You know, pretty solid. I don't know. I was really happy with it. Very proud. I spent like 2 weeks trying to build this thing together. It was such a pain. It was so hard to be able to tune this thing, but was able to do it. So if you follow these speeds, you should be able to work. Now, the one key, Eris, you're going to want to make sure that she is, I think, at least 273 speed, right? And Mother Cybele 258 to like 260, I want to say. I think any faster than that, 260 is too fast. You really have to have her right at 258. 258 or 259 looks like to be the sweet spot there. So 258, 259 speed for Mother Cybele is perfect. Then even if she gets that sleep deep or the slow debuff, she'll be fine. Eris, you're looking at 273, 274. I think you can go faster than that. I don't think there's a huge limit as far as how high you can go. But those are kind of the general guidelines, 273, 274, 275, something like that. Skytouch Naked, right, 101 speed. If you do bring in a Crimson Helm instead, the only issue with Crimson Helm, by the way, I should point this out, is weak affinity for this boss or strong affinity, so won't always die. Slow debuff on Crimson Helm can be problematic, so definitely not somebody I would recommend bringing in. I'd rather use Skytouch Shaman if you can, but you know, if you don't have the option, I think Crimson Helm should work just fine. Just, you're not going to want to, you know, keep him as low as possible so he does die, because sometimes he won't. Weak hits from the boss, that kind of thing. He has pretty good base stats. So I'd keep Crimson Helm at, you know, low, you know, 4-star, maybe even 5-star, because you don't need any gear on him. Base speed of 85. I have an extra 6 just from the Faction Guardians. That's enough. Don't need any more speed, and he should work just fine for you. So anyway, options for you guys. Eris is pretty essential with the cleanse ability, especially with Cybele. Though, in fairness, anybody with a 3-turn increased speed buff that isn't a hit skill should be able to work for you on this, and a single hit on the A1. So there are other options for champions to bring in here. I just think Eris is going to be your best one, right? You're not going to really, you can farm her, you can build her specifically for this, won't hurt you anywhere else. And that's the team. That's the team. That's the squad, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I thought it was pretty fun to be able to build this whole thing. myself. So yeah, that's all we got for today. Thank you guys for stopping by and watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. I don't always put out videos, as you might know. Notification bell lets you know when I do. So you don't want to miss these type of things. Anyway, that's all we got. Till next we meet, I'm the Deadwood Jedi.